History was made on WWE Raw, February 9, 2026, as Jacob Fatu stepped into the spotlight and captured the Undisputed Championship in a night that will be talked about for years. From the opening bell to the final 3 count, the arena was electric, the stakes were sky-high, and every moment felt like destiny unfolding inside the ring. This is the full breakdown of how Fatu rose to the occasion, overcame the chaos, and shocked the WWE Universe. Watch the complete highlights from tonight's Raw, including the biggest reactions, brutal exchanges, and the championship moment that changed everything. Don't miss a second of the action. Comment your thoughts on Jacob Fatu's victory, and subscribe for more daily WWE updates and full show highlights. The energy inside the arena on February 9, 2026, was different from the moment the doors opened. You could feel it in the air, sense it in the conversations happening throughout the concourse, see it in the eyes of every fan who walked through those turnstiles. This wasn't just another Monday Night Raw. This was a night where history had the potential to be written, where the impossible could become reality, where a meteoric rise could reach its ultimate culmination. The WWE Universe had gathered not just to watch wrestling, but to witness something that felt monumentally important, something that would be remembered and replayed for decades to come. Jacob Fatu's journey to this moment had been nothing short of extraordinary. From the instant he stepped foot in WWE, it was clear that this wasn't just another talent signing. This was the arrival of something special, someone who carried the weight of wrestling royalty in his bloodline while simultaneously forging his own unique path to greatness. The Samoan Werewolf, as he had become known, brought a combination of size, athleticism, intensity, and raw charisma that captured the imagination of fans and struck fear into the hearts of his opponents. His matches had been consistently spectacular, his presence undeniable, his trajectory pointing straight toward the top of the mountain. But the path to championship glory is never straightforward in WWE. There are obstacles, setbacks, political maneuvering, and the simple reality that opportunities at the very top are limited and fiercely contested. Fatu had faced all of these challenges, had overcome doubters who questioned whether his independent circuit success would translate to the main roster, had proven week after week that he belonged in conversations about the best performers in the entire company. His matches had stolen shows, his promos had generated buzz, and his overall package had become impossible for WWE management to ignore. The build to tonight's championship match had been masterfully crafted over several weeks. Tensions had been escalating, confrontations had become increasingly physical, and the animosity between Fatu and the reigning undisputed champion had reached a boiling point that demanded resolution. The champion had dominated the division for months, running through challenger after challenger, building an aura of seeming invincibility that made every title defense feel like a foregone conclusion. But Jacob Fatu represented something different, a threat unlike any the champion had faced before, someone with the perfect combination of skills and hunger to potentially end the reign that many had assumed would continue indefinitely. The show opened with an electricity that was palpable even through television screens. The production values were elevated, the lighting more dramatic, the camera angles more cinematic than a typical Raw. WWE knew they had something special on their hands tonight, and they were presenting it accordingly. The opening video package recapped the journey that had brought us to this moment, showing clips of Fatu's dominant performances, the champion's successful defenses, the confrontations that had escalated tensions between them, all set to music that built anticipation and conveyed the magnitude of what was about to unfold. The early portions of the show moved quickly, with matches and segments seemingly designed to get through necessary business while building toward the main event that everyone had come to see. Other storylines were advanced, other rivalries were developed, but there was an underlying current throughout the entire broadcast that everything was secondary to what would happen when Jacob Fatu challenged for the Undisputed Championship. The commentators referenced it constantly, wrestlers mentioned it in backstage interviews, and the crowd chanted Fatu's name during unrelated segments, their anticipation reaching levels that bordered on desperate need to see the match finally happen. Backstage segments showed both competitors preparing in their respective locker rooms. The champion exuded confidence bordering on arrogance, dismissing Fatu as just another challenger who would fall like all the others before him. The body language, the tone of voice, the casual dismissiveness all painted a picture of someone who genuinely believed there was no possibility of losing tonight. This champion had held the title through countless defenses, had overcome every style of opponent, had proven time and again that when the stakes were highest, he found another gear and delivered performances that justified his position at the top of WWE. In contrast, Jacob Fatu's preparation was shown as focused and intense. There was no bravado, no excessive trash talk, just a quiet confidence and visible determination. The cameras captured him wrapping his hands, shadow boxing, running through mental preparation techniques that suggested someone who understood the magnitude of the opportunity before him. His family heritage was referenced, showing brief clips of the legendary Samoan wrestlers who had come before him, the lineage of excellence that he represented and was determined to honor with his performance tonight. As the show progressed toward the main event, the tension in the arena built to almost unbearable levels. The crowd was on edge, energy building with each passing segment, anticipation growing as the clock ticked toward the moment when Fatu and the champion would finally collide for the most prestigious prize in professional wrestling. Social media was exploding with predictions, hot takes, and expressions of excitement from fans around the world who were tuning in to watch this potential changing of the guard. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of waiting, the time arrived. The lights in the arena dimmed, signaling that the main event was about to begin. The crowd erupted in anticipation, the sound level reaching deafening proportions. The ring had been cleared, the announce table freshly organized, the atmosphere transformed from typical wrestling show to something that felt more significant, more prestigious, more worthy of the championship that was about to be contested. The champion's music hit first, as tradition dictates. The entrance was elaborate, designed to convey dominance and superiority. The Undisputed Championship gleamed under the lights, draped over the champion's shoulder, a visual reminder of what was at stake and what Fatu would need to overcome to achieve his dream. The champion walked with the confidence of someone who had been here many times before, someone for whom title defenses had become routine rather than special. The crowd reaction was mixed, with some fans appreciating the champion's excellence while others desperately wanted to see new blood at the top. Then came Jacob Fatu's entrance, and the arena absolutely exploded. The reaction was overwhelming, a thunderous ovation that demonstrated just how much the WWE Universe had invested in Fatu's journey and how desperately they wanted to see him capture championship gold. Fatu's entrance combined traditional Samoan elements with his own unique presentation, creating something that felt both respectful of his heritage and entirely his own. The intensity radiating from him was palpable, his focus absolute, his body language conveying that this was the moment he had been working toward his entire life. The formal championship introductions added another layer of gravitas to the proceedings. The ring announcer's voice boomed through the arena, carefully enunciating every word, building the drama with strategic pauses and inflections. When he announced Jacob Fatu as the challenger, the crowd response was deafening. When he announced the champion and held the Undisputed Championship high in the air for all to see, the stakes of the match became even more tangible and real. The referee's instructions to both competitors in the center of the ring created one final moment of tension before the action began. The two men stood face to face, neither backing down, neither showing any sign of intimidation. The size difference was notable, but both men carried themselves like champions, like warriors ready for battle. The referee raised the Undisputed Championship one final time, displaying for everyone what this match was about, what would be on the line once the bell rang. And then, finally, the bell sounded. The match was officially underway, and the journey toward crowning a new champion or confirming the current champion's dominance could begin. The opening moments were cautious, both men circling, looking for openings, neither wanting to make a mistake that could cost them everything. The technical proficiency on display was immediately apparent, with both competitors showing why they had earned their positions at the top of WWE. The early exchanges were evenly matched, with neither man able to establish clear dominance. Every move was countered, every attempt at offense was met with solid defense, creating a chess match quality to the opening minutes. The crowd appreciated the technical excellence, responding with appreciation for particularly impressive sequences or escapes. The psychology was sound, with both men working deliberately, building toward bigger moments rather than rushing into spots that might feel unearned. As the match progressed, the intensity increased. The strikes became stiffer, the moves more impactful, the near falls closer to actual pinfalls. Jacob Fatu began to showcase the athletic ability that had made him such a standout performer, executing moves that seemed impossible for someone of his size. Moonsaults, suicide dives, athletic sequences that left the crowd gasping in amazement and the commentators struggling to adequately describe what they were witnessing. This wasn't just power wrestling. This was a complete performer operating at the highest possible level. The champion responded with his own arsenal, showing why he had held the title for so long. Experience came into play, with veteran tactics and ring generalship allowing the champion to slow Fatu's momentum and create opportunities for offense. The title defenses that had come before had clearly taught valuable lessons, and the champion was applying that accumulated wisdom to try to solve the puzzle that Jacob Fatu presented. Near falls became increasingly dramatic as the match entered its middle portion. Each 2 count brought the crowd to their feet, convinced that this might be the moment, that this might be the pin that changed everything. The referee's hand would slap the mat twice, the crowd would hold their collective breath, and then a shoulder would raise just before 3, eliciting groans of disappointment or relief depending on which competitor had come close to victory. The action spilled outside the ring multiple times, with both men using the environment to their advantage. The announce table became a target, the ring steps were weaponized, the barricades separating fans from the action were tested for their structural integrity. The referee's count created additional drama, with both competitors rolling in and out to break the count at strategic moments, buying time to recover while keeping the match alive and the championship hopes intact. A particularly spectacular sequence saw Jacob Fatu climb to the top turnbuckle, surveying the champion who was laid out on the outside of the ring. The crowd rose to their feet in anticipation, phones raised to capture what was about to happen. Fatu measured the distance, steadied himself, and then launched his massive frame into the air, executing a picture-perfect moonsault to the outside that crashed down onto the champion with devastating impact. The crowd erupted, the commentators screamed about the unbelievable athleticism, and replays from multiple angles showed just how spectacular and dangerous the maneuver had been. Both men struggled to recover from that sequence, with the referee checking on each to ensure they could continue. The toll of the match was visible on their faces and bodies, sweat and exhaustion mixing with determination and refusal to quit. This was the kind of match that careers are defined by, the kind of performance that gets replayed in highlight packages for years to come, the kind of battle that reminds everyone why they fell in love with professional wrestling in the first place. As the match entered its final stages, the drama reached almost unbearable levels. Signature moves were being kicked out of, finishers were being countered, and the crowd was at a fever pitch believing that any moment could be the decisive one. The champion hit his finishing move, hooked the leg for the pin, and the referee's hand slapped the mat once, twice, and somehow, impossibly, Jacob Fatu kicked out. The crowd's reaction was explosive, a mixture of relief and amazement that Fatu had survived what should have been the end. Fatu responded with his own offensive flurry, hitting move after move, building toward his own finish. The momentum had shifted, the crowd sensing that the moment might finally be here. The champion was in trouble, staggered, vulnerable in a way he hadn't been during previous title defenses. Jacob Fatu signaled for his finishing move, the crowd rising in anticipation, the energy in the arena reaching levels that seemed impossible to sustain. But the champion countered, showing the veteran instincts and ring awareness that had served him so well during his reign. The momentum swung back and forth like a pendulum, with neither man able to land the decisive blow that would end the match and settle the championship question. The drama was almost overwhelming, with fans at ringside visible on camera standing with hands on heads, unable to believe what they were witnessing, unable to process the level of performance both men were delivering. Then chaos erupted. Music hit unexpectedly, and interference from an outside party created a moment of confusion and controversy. The referee was momentarily distracted. The champion was arguing about the interference, and in that moment of disorder, Jacob Fatu seized the opportunity. Whether it was the interference that created the opening or simply perfect timing, Fatu struck with precision and fury, hitting his devastating finishing combination on the champion. The champion was down, motionless in the center of the ring. Jacob Fatu covered for the pin, hooking both legs, putting all his weight into the cover. The referee dropped to the mat, his hand raised high before coming down for the first count. The arena held its collective breath. The hand came down again for the second count, and the anticipation was unbearable. Then, the third count, the hand slapping the mat with finality, the bell ringing to signal the end of the match and the beginning of a new championship reign. The reaction was instantaneous and overwhelming. The crowd exploded in celebration, the sound level reaching heights that seemed to shake the entire building. Jacob Fatu's music hit, triumphant and powerful, as the realization of what had just happened began to sink in. The referee handed Fatu the Undisputed Championship, and the moment that championship belt touched his hands, years of hard work, sacrifice, and dedication were validated in an instant. The emotion on Jacob Fatu's face was genuine and powerful. This wasn't a performer playing a role. This was a human being achieving a lifelong dream, reaching the pinnacle of his profession, cementing his place in wrestling history. Tears mixed with sweat as he held the championship high above his head, the weight of it both physical and symbolic. The cameras captured every detail of the moment, ensuring that this image would be replayed countless times, would become iconic, would represent the night that Jacob Fatu became undisputed champion. The celebration continued as Fatu climbed each turnbuckle, displaying the championship to different sections of the arena, allowing fans to share in this moment of triumph. The crowd chanted his name, the sound echoing through the building, a thunderous affirmation of their support and excitement for this new champion. Confetti began falling from the rafters, adding a visual spectacle to the celebration, creating a scene that looked more like a WrestleMania moment than a typical Monday Night Raw. The former champion had rolled out of the ring, disappearing to the back to process the loss and the end of his historic reign. The focus remained entirely on Jacob Fatu and his celebration, as it should. This was his moment, his night, his validation of everything he had promised since arriving in WWE. The Samoan werewolf had climbed to the top of the mountain and claimed the ultimate prize. Backstage interviews immediately followed, with everyone from fellow wrestlers to WWE officials offering their reactions to what had just transpired. Some expressed shock at the championship change, others claimed they had predicted Fatu's victory all along. The locker room seemed divided between those celebrating the coronation of a new champion and those concerned about what Fatu's reign might mean for their own championship aspirations. Social media exploded in the immediate aftermath, with Jacob Fatu's name trending worldwide within minutes. Fans shared their reactions, posted clips of the finish, debated whether the interference had tainted the victory or was simply part of the story. Wrestling journalists began publishing instant analysis pieces, breaking down what the title change meant for upcoming storylines, for the championship picture, for WWE's creative direction moving forward. The former champion issued a statement through social media within the hour, not congratulating Fatu but rather demanding an immediate rematch and claiming the interference had robbed him of the opportunity to retain his championship fairly. This response immediately set up future storylines, ensuring that Fatu's first title defense would be against a highly motivated former champion seeking to reclaim what he felt was unjustly taken from him. The question of the interference became a major talking point in post-show analysis. Who had caused the distraction that created the opening for Fatu's victory? Why had they chosen to involve themselves in the championship match? Were they aligned with Fatu, or did they have their own agenda that simply happened to benefit the challenger? The ambiguity created additional storyline possibilities, while also giving fans something to debate and theorize about during the week leading to the next Raw. Jacob Fatu's post-match interview backstage showed a champion fully aware of the responsibility he now carried. He acknowledged the controversy surrounding the finish, but insisted that he had earned the victory through his performance throughout the match. He promised to be a fighting champion, to defend the title against all challengers, to represent WWE and the Undisputed Championship with the pride and intensity it deserved.